Stankus heard from Vincas that Mikutis was a person of integrity, that one could find support in him, learn from him, that he was a very rare phenomenon in Lithuania, and so he was inwardly prepared to encounter somebody out of this world. Mikutis came as usual. Vincas wanted to present him as an out of the ordinary person. Yet he went on speaking about something that had happened just the day before, entirely ignoring Stankus. The next morning, I went to the institute and was amazed to see Mikutis standing on the one side of the gateway, Bronius Stankus on the other, both looking very happy. Stankus was especially happy, and he told me, Saulė, can you imagine, at last we got acquainted. They had spent the whole night standing in the gateway, facing one another, until they really got to know each other and found a common language. Mikutis and I, we both were sturdy lowlanders. He was rather well educated, and you should know he was very reserved. An orderly man, always correct, kind and friendly, and a mature man, never getting hot. His views were traditional, though quite modern too. He preferred associating with young people, a lonely, reserved person.
Nesupykėsi, gali kaip subrendęs labai šiam jisai pažiūrėjau, bet į naujų nieko, prieš jaunimą jam smagiau, jis nudžiugdavo su jaunimu, kai turėjai suvėtis ar pasikalbėti ar pagyventi, tai nieko, jisai apsidžiavo. Vienišas susibūnęs.
Nodding with his head propped up upon his hand, the posture so peculiar to Justinas. He said about his puppet that it was more like him than he was himself. That he was born in our family. We wanted to impersonate all our friends. You can recognize them very well. Lansbergis, Steponavičius, Kisarauskas. And here I do not quite recall. Saulė. Man's essential nature lies in his distance from himself. He finds himself only then when he moves away from himself. This is the essential meaning of the poetic act. When a man rises, he feels he has the picture of God within himself, and then he cannot violate it in himself or in others. Man always sees his neighbor first, and if he sees God's image within him, he will try to be good to him. Here is the same problem as in love your neighbor as you love yourself. That can be changed into love yourself as you love your neighbor. The devil here has mocked at the man. You know well how a man loves his neighbor, and consequently he loves himself as much. Man is afraid of seeing himself as he really is. He wants to imagine himself better than that. But if he fails to see himself better than he is, then he wants at least to see himself worse than he is. That is so because man is unable to see himself as he really is, and he cannot be the man he ought to be. This inadequacy, this impossibility to be the man one ought to be, brings about the necessity to experience that existence which is exactly as it ought to be. That is the deity. He simply played with us during his talks, And we were like the blind looking for a grain of mustard seed, according to his rather mischievous or humoristic view. We are almost trapped by the devil, but sometimes we manage to escape. There is some activity going on, and we discover everything ourselves. He used to say that Christianity was different from other religions because it kept ever growing and developing, ever alive. He thought that it was a process rather than something completed, stated once and for all, and one has to follow. He believed in the vitality and perpetual renewal of the Christian religion. Man saw in his creative work that the meaning of a metaphor led to one discovery, the discovery of God, and that it was a seed which could be sown even in the erring minds. The cross is, so to say, an intersection of two things which cannot be joined. In mathematics, it is an intersection of two parallels. It is said, who can perceive? And everybody wonders what is the meaning of this paradox. It is said this is impossible in man's eyes, but everything is possible in God's eyes. It is shown here how intensely that another reality should be felt. And one can perceive it either following the way of extreme wisdom or of extreme credulity. Now is the most unfavorable time for Christianity, the time of intellectuals who are, as Germans call it, hellgebildet, half-gebildet, half-formed, half-polished, I would say. They consider themselves educated, but they are not. They are only polished on the surface. Either university education or total simplicity is needed in order to experience what real Christianity is. But a man who is polished is also a man who is, so to say, rubbed away. That is what they refuse to understand. Poetry and religion arise from the same source, but they should not be confused. They should be neither isolated nor confused. Religion should be, in the first place, poetry, as concretization of the former. In the second, during the Renaissance period, there was a danger to consider art higher than religion. Then there came Protestantism, Luther, who appeared just in time to help Roman Catholicism to avoid the danger of becoming pagan. The worship of saint pictures is not an idol worship, but it can become such. Therefore, Luther's role at that time was positive. Generally, his teaching was not right, but then it justified itself. There were things which he practically ignored, but when they concerned essential questions, he would always jump and interfere, no matter how tired, weak, hungry, or ill he was. Once a philosopher, a well-known philosopher, was staying with me. We started an argument, and quite unexpectedly, perhaps overcome by excitement, he said, Christ was no more but a poor man, wasn't he? And I was surprised by just a sudden reaction. Yes, he said, Christ was a poor man, but he was endowed with divine radiance. He started to regard me more seriously after my conflict with myself, after a long illness, and after my conflict with the KGB, when I saw the necessity to burn all the bridges and decided to go to Knaiche. He came to me one day and glanced at me quite differently than usual, as if he wanted to say, well, now you understand a little about what I went through. As if he was blessing me, acknowledging the beginning of my real thinking.
savotiškai, reiškia, mane palaimino, kad va dabar tik tai tu pradėsi kažką tai galvoti.